freeze everything. Stop scrolling. Because I promise you, nothing you saw on your timeline today is heavier than this. ASAP Rocky just stood up in a room full of family, tapped a glass, and said something so raw it reportedly brought Rihanna, the woman who has never folded in front of the industry, to tears. No cameras. No phones out. No leaks for almost 2 days. And yet the whole culture is spiraling trying to decode what he actually said. This ain't an album rollout. This ain't a publicity stunt. This is a grown man detonating something real in the most private room possible. And the doubters really thought this was gonna stay quiet? Bro really believed he could shift the entire energy of his life and the internet wouldn't notice. Cute. Yo, before we go 1 inch deeper, smash that like button, tap subscribe, and turn those notifications on. Melanin Scope don't do surface level. We do the receipts, the reactions, and the parts your favorite blog is too scared to touch. Lock in. Alright, here's the skeleton. Rakeem Athelston Myers, better known as ASAP Rocky, reportedly delivered a deeply personal statement directed at rubbing Rihanna Fenty at a private family gathering with close relatives and collaborators in attendance. It went down this week at a low-key indoor setting with zero press and zero cameras, and the details only surfaced roughly 48 hours later through people who were in the room. Rocky really thought a moment this big was gonna live and die inside those 4 walls. Brew. That's not how the internet works. Now let's get into the receipts that broke this thing wide open. Let me stack the quotes, because this is where it stops being gossip and starts being a paper trail. First, the line the whole internet keeps repeating. Multiple attendees described the moment to insiders, and the wording stays consistent. Rocky reportedly stood up and said, "I've been sitting with this for a long time. Life has moved fast these last few years, faster than I ever imagined. Faster than I ever asked for. And somewhere along the way, I finally figured out what actually matters." When I first read that, man, I had to put my phone down. That's not a lyric. That's not a sound bite for a docuseries. That's a grown man in his real bag, saying the quiet part out loud in front of the people who watched him become who he is. Then it got heavier. Sources say Rocky turned, looked directly at Rihanna, and said, "None of it compares to what I have with her. And nothing I ever accomplish will ever matter more than the family we are building together." Bro said what? In front of everybody? That's the kind of line that makes every other man in the room re-examine his entire life. That's the kind of line that retires every "he's just with her" for the brand narrative on Contact. Now, for context, this ain't new energy from Rocky. It's escalated energy. In an interview with Bet's Jason Lee, Rocky opened up about one of the darkest nights of his life, and I'm quoting, "My first album went #1. My dad died on Christmas. I was on my bathroom floor in Paris crying. She called me for some reason to congratulate me." That night, Rihanna reportedly showed up at his hotel room in Paris when he was at his lowest. "Rihanna held me down," he said. "When I heard that story the first time, I did a double take. The man was crying on a bathroom floor in Paris, and the person who walked in was Rihanna. You can't script that." The doubters heard that story and still called this relationship a marketing deal. That's the dumbest flex I've ever heard. Then you got the Hollywood Reporter breakdown, where Rocky gave an update on Rihanna's long-awaited 9th album, and I'm quoting, "She in the studio right now. Yeah, I said it. Sorry, babe." He also admitted the delay in her music was partly tied to their relationship, their kids, and her businesses. That's the same man who's now reportedly telling a room full of family that none of his accomplishments matter more than what they are building. Connect that yourself. And here's the receipt that ties the whole thing together. In his Vibe cover story, the house that ASAP Rocky built, Rocky talked about fatherhood and raising Azadeh, Riot, and Rocky, making it clear he wants his kids to know him in the room, not from a screen. When I first read that cover, I already knew something was shifting. That wasn't a passing quote. That was a mission statement dropped months before the real moment landed. Nah, you can't say something that heavy in a magazine and expect people to forget when the speech finally comes. Now watch the pattern carefully, because the timeline exposes everything. Baby Rocky Irish Myers was born on September 13, 2025, confirmed by Pitchfork, BBC, and Complex. That's child number 3. Azadeh turned 4 this past May. Riot turned 3 on August 1st with a Spider-Man party that people on Instagram both covered. Do the math with me. Between May 2022 and September 2025, Rocky went from 0 kids to 3. 3 years. 3 humans. 1 household. That family speech reportedly landed roughly 11 months after Rocky entered the world, right at the age where a baby starts recognizing faces, forming attachments, building memories that actually stick. That's not an accident. That's a father watching the clock and realizing the window is now. Now check the other side of the calendar. Rocky did press for his own album Don't Be Dumb back in January 2026, and Rihanna showed up and showed out at the NYC release party on January 15th. Reddit had the photos everywhere. So Rocky had his moment. His album cycle ran. His stock is climbing. And this is when he chooses to stand up and get sentimental. Mid-momentum? Any other rapper would be squeezing the rollout dry. Rocky picked this timing on purpose. Remember the Met Gala 2026 tension clip that went viral back in May? The one where everybody swore the couple was fighting on the carpet? TMZ reported through sources that there was no fight at all. The couple was purely exhausted. Rocky even went on the Jason Lee show and cleared the air himself, and days later they were documented out together on a Mother's Day date. Any smart person would have seen where this was heading. But the blogs aren't smart, they're reactive. And behind the scenes, Page 6 has been documenting the family-first energy for a while, over-the-top birthday parties. The Gotham Awards appearance where Billboard reported the 2 of them talking parenting 3 kids and gushing every day is date night. That wasn't red carpet PR talk. That was Rocky quietly practicing the version of himself, his now stepping into full-time. The blogs really thought he was just being a doting dad for the cameras. Nah, he was rehearsing. Okay. Now check this out, because nobody's talking about the specific word Rocky reportedly used. Zoom in with me. The word is building. Not the family we have. Not the family we made. The family we are building together. That's a construction verb. That's a project verb. That's unfinished business language. Present tense. Ongoing. That single word is exactly why the baby number 4 theories are setting every timeline on fire right now. Because Page 6 already reported back in January that Rihanna herself hinted at baby number 4 in 2026, joking about deciding between getting hot and sexy or getting pregnant again. If Rocky really used the same unfinished, still under construction language in that room, that's not a coincidence. That's a co-signed message between 2 people who planned their moves together. And the doubters really didn't catch that? That's embarrassing. If they had half a brain, they would have clocked the language before the theories even started. Second detail, and this one sent me down a rabbit hole. Sources described Rocky's voice during the speech as low, steady, almost apologetic. Let me tell you why that matters. Public Rocky is not apologetic. Public Rocky wore a quilt to the Met Gala. Public Rocky showed up to a courtroom in a durag and turned a trial into a fashion moment. Public Rocky told Vibe if they don't get it, it. So when that man gets low and steady and soft in a private room, that's not performance. There's no audience to perform for. That's the same man who cried on a Paris bathroom floor resurfacing in front of the people who watched him build everything from scratch. The tonal shift is the story. His critics really thought he didn't have that gear. That's the problem with them. They don't read between the lines. Third layer. The reported structure of the speech itself. According to the accounts, Rocky walked through his wins first, the records, the covers, the moments, and then flattened all of it with none of it compares. Notice the architecture. He built the mountain as high as he could before bulldozing it in one sentence. That's rhetorical warfare. If he led with the family stuff, it sounds like an apology. By leading with the flexes and then erasing them, it sounds like a verdict. When I sat with that structure, I realized Rocky wasn't just talking to Rihanna. He was talking to every industry head watching from a distance. That's chess. Now let's see how the media covered all this, because the framing differences expose who's actually plugged in and who's guessing. Billboard has been framing the Rocky Rihanna story through the family lens all year. The Gotham Awards coverage, the parenting talk, every day is date night. Their read makes this moment about a family expanding and settling in. And honestly, that framing tracks with that building language we broke down. But they missed the co-signed message angle entirely. Meanwhile, The Hollywood Reporter keeps framing everything through the R9 lens. Rocky's "she in the studio right now" line extended into a narrative that Rihanna's return is imminent and everything the couple does is album foreplay. Convenient framing. But remember those timeline dots we connected? Rihanna herself told the Reporter she's starting over on the album, and there's still no release window as of mid-2026. Projecting a neat little symmetry, Rocky steps back, R9 drops, is a story that hasn't been confirmed by anybody. Then Page 6 leaned into the emotional milestone angle, treating this as an extension of the family-first energy they've been documenting since the birthday parties and the baby number 4 hints back in January. Soft framing, protective of the couple. And honestly, of the three, that's the closest to the truth. Now the counter-narrative. Some blogs and TikTok voices are trying to spin this whole moment as damage control, claiming Rocky's sudden sentimentality is image rehab, that the timing smells like a PR patch. But those are the same voices who swore the Met Gala clip meant a breakup was coming, right before TMZ sources shut that down and the couple was photographed on a Mother's Day date days later. The media trying to spin this for the doubters, but the receipts don't lie. The Family First timeline predates every damage control theory by months. That Vibe cover mission statement dropped long before any alleged PR crisis existed. If you still think this is a stunt after all this evidence, you're just biased. Rocky been telegraphing this move all year. The blogs just weren't listening. But nah, something about this whole thing feels OFF to the industry. And that discomfort is exactly the story. Here's what nobody in the mainstream is willing to say out loud. Rocky just broke the unspoken hip-hop contract. The contract that says male rappers grind until the wheels fall off. Chase every bag until your voice gives out. Tour until your kids recognize you from a screen instead of a room. Slow down only when the industry pushes you out, never by choice. Rocky reportedly stood up at 37 years old, near his commercial peak, months after an album that actually moved, and told the people he loves most that none of it compares to family. That's not a toast. That's a cultural earthquake. Remember that Vibe cover philosophy about his kids knowing him from the room? That wasn't a nice pull quote. That was Rocky publicly rejecting the entire model of hip-hop fatherhood the industry has run on for 40 years. He just told every man in the culture that presence is worth more than presence on stage. And his peers? A lot of them are puppets still chasing a metric Rocky just walked away from. Watch the pattern carefully. Name the rappers who tried to prioritize family publicly in the last decade. You can count the ones who kept their commercial standing on one hand. Most got clowned. Most got called soft. Most watched their momentum die within 18 months. So why is Rocky's version landing different? Because Rocky has something none of them had. Rihanna. A partner whose empire is bigger than his. A partner whose Fenty numbers Rocky doesn't need to compete with because is living inside that empire. His critics thought choosing family meant compromising. Nah, brew. Rocky is playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. Now here's the part that's genuinely uncomfortable. The industry does not want Rocky to succeed at this. Think about it. If Rocky pulls off a step back at his peak without losing cultural relevance, every artist locked into a major label deal starts asking questions. Every rapper trapped in a 360 starts doing the math. Every young MC watching this starts plotting their own exit. The machine's most reliable fuel has always been young black male artistic desperation. Yeah, I said it. And Rocky opting out at full power threatens the whole engine. The labels need the next 18 months of his life to be quiet, mid, and forgettable. They need his step back to become a cautionary tale, not a blueprint. And the same voices praising him in public will quietly work to make sure of that. Watch. The washed narratives are already loading. Soft. Riding Rihanna's wave. They are sharpening the knives right now. Any smart person would wait to see how this actually plays out. But the industry isn't smart. It's reactive. And Rihanna? Rihanna is the missing variable in every take you've read. She's the reason Rocky was brave enough to do this. This is a woman who spent 20 years being the person the whole world leans on, covers the check, kisses the wound, takes the 2 a.m. call, without anybody asking if she's okay. And now she's reportedly sitting in a room watching her man stand up and say, in front of everyone, that nothing he'll ever accomplish matters more than what they are building. Her silence lately, the low-profile appearances, the skipped events, that wasn't distance. That was reception. She let him arrive at his own conclusion on his own timeline. And that's the truth they won't tell you. So what happens from here? Nah, this is about to go left for the doubters, and the collapse is already loading. First, the silence path. Rocky is not gonna do a press tour about this. No sit down with Charlemagne. No clarifying interview. Watch what happens instead. He disappears from the calendar for weeks at a time, and the blog spiral. Every candid photo becomes a headline. Every gap between sightings becomes a theory. The doubters will scream that he's washed, and Rocky will say absolutely nothing back, and that silence is gonna hurt them more than any interview could. Because when the family photos finally drop, when Rihanna's next cover finally lands, every doubter gets exposed in real time. Second path, and this is the one the critics aren't ready for. The Empire Fusion. Watch the Fenty announcements coming over the next few months. Watch which projects suddenly list Rocky as executive producer, creative director, silent partner. He's not retiring, he's reorganizing. Stepping out of the solo rap sprint and stepping into an empire Rihanna already built. And when the first joint credit lands publicly, the same critics saying he's riding her wave are gonna have to explain why the wave just got bigger than both of them. We saw what Rihanna did to the beauty industry solo. The doubters don't stand a chance against the fused version. Third, the culture shift. This is the scary one. Everything feels quiet right now. But over the next 12 to 18 months, watch how many rappers under 35 start doing the exact same thing. Extended breaks. Pivots to production. Family-first schedules. Rocky just handed a permission slip to a whole generation of artists who are secretly exhausted. 5 years from now, people will look back at this week as the moment hip-hop's no days off era officially cracked. The old guard will be screaming into the void while the culture quietly walks away from the treadmill. And the wild card? Baby number 4. Page 6 already documented Rihanna hinting at it, and that building verb is doing some heavy lifting. If a 4th pregnancy announcement drops before the end of 2026, everything changes. That confirms the step back was a runway, not a retreat. And every doubter still clutching the Rocky's washed narrative gets erased by a single Instagram post, the same way Rihanna erased everybody who doubted her Super Bowl. Whatever happens, one thing's clear. The doubters already lost. Real talk, this ain't a headline. It's a warning shot to the entire industry, and Melanin is gonna be here for every ripple. So tell me in the comments right now, was that mystery item in Rocky's hand a proposal, a 4th pregnancy, or joint empire play? Debate it, fight about it, pull up your receipts. I'm reading every single comment tonight. Hit like, hit subscribe, ring the bell. Because when the next chapter of this drops, and trust me, it drops soon, you don't want to find out from anybody else. This story is only getting started. See you in the next one.